Alright, this is part 3 of our video series on how to create a Section 508 web page. The last video cut me off in the middle of doing something, so we're going to step back to where we were at the beginning of that part. And what we wanted to do was take this image and float it to the left of this text, which will bring this text over here. That'll get rid of this big old blank space right here and save some space within the body of the whole thing. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we'll select our image up here in the branding section. We're going to select the tag, make a rule, tell it what to do. We're going to make this less specific and get rid of this paragraph part of it. So just come up here and just delete that. We're going to hit OK. Now we're not messing with the type or anything like that, so we're just going to go straight to the box where it says we're going to float it. So we're going to float this to the left, float the image to the left, over here, left of the content. But we want to separate, I'll show you what I mean here when I hit apply. Okay, now we got the image floated over here, but the problem is now our text is jammed right up onto the image. We can fix that fairly easy by coming over here. We want it to come to the right, offset to the right, put a right margin on the image. Actually, we're making the margin on the image. This will move the content to the right. Come over here, we're going to put 1.5 M spaces, hit apply, and it moved over. So we're going to hit OK, and we're going to move on. Now we're going to get to doing these for the same thing, but what we want to do is go ahead and make our space for where our site navigation is going to be. We want to put a column over here on this side where our site navigation is going to be. So to do that, what we're going to do is just move around the main content stuff. So what we need to do is make a rule inside the main content. And by doing that, we're just going to select main content. We're going to make a rule. Less specific. Okay. So this is how we're going to do it. We want to make it 150 pixels wide. So we come to our box, and remember our box for the wrapper for everything was 900 pixels wide by 650 pixels high. But since we want to make it 150 for our site nav, we need to go ahead and take away minus 150 here, and we're going to minus 150 there. If we hit apply, you see we have this over here. It's over here on the right hand side. That's all right, we can move it over here. We'll do that here in just a second. But I want to put some padding around it, so I'm going to put 30 pixels of padding all the way around it. Now if I did that, then I need to compensate for it up here. So I need to come up here, 30 all the way around. So for the width, 30 on each side, I need to take away 60 pixels there, and I need to take away 60 pixels there. That maintains our main content. And there we have it. Now we're back to where we were. Over here, our main content's over here. We've made a div tag for site nav. Well, we haven't done that yet. What we're doing is making the space for it. And since we want it over here, we want to take all of this and float it to the right of this area we just made. So we float to the right, hit apply, and there we have it over here now, which is where we wanted it. So now that we have our spacing done and everything, now we can deal with the images over here. So we can do one or two things. We can make a div tag for each one, or we can make an image tag for our main content. So how we're going to do that is I'm going to come down here, I'm going to select main content, select it, and I'm going to make a rule. Now I don't want any of this stuff, so while this is highlighted, I just want to make an image tag. So anytime I do an image tag, it's going to affect what's ever inside the main content, because the main content is this parent tag. So I just type it img, image tag. Hit OK. So what I want for them to do is also, just like we did up there, I want to float them to the left, go to the box, float to the left, come to the right margin of the pictures, and add 1.5 M spaces. Hit apply. Okay. And you can see we've done that to all of them now. Now let's continue on. So now we're going to work on our site nav, but we don't. How can we work on something we haven't had yet? So how do we insert a div tag for our site nav? Well, we come back over here and click Insert Div Tag. Insert Div Tag. So this is where it can kind of get a little confusing, but we want to decide where we want this thing. Do we want it before the branding tag? I'll put it up here. No, we want it after the branding tag or before the main content. So why don't we do it before main content? So we're going to insert it before the tag and select main content. And when we do that, then we can call it site nav. Again, remember, it's all one word, but when we capitalize our next word, so site, capital N, hit OK. Now, it popped up here. That's not exactly what we wanted, but we will get it to where we need it. So we have our site nav tag now. Now we can make a rule for it. So let's do that. Like always, select it, and we make a rule. We're going to make it less specific, just site nav, hit OK. Now we can deal with this thing. Let's go to our box. Okay, we remember the box for the site nav is, I'm going to set the width to 150, and our height is 500 pixels. Remember, that's where we left off. That's the same as the other. 500 pixels. We need to put some padding in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put same for all. I'm going to put same for all. 10 pixels of padding all the way around. But when we do that, remember we have to compensate it up here. If not, it's going to fall outside of our wrapper. We don't want that. So come back up here. I'm going to take away 20 because we're taking away both sides. So 10 on this side and 10 on this side equal 20. We're going to take away 20 here. And we want this to float to the left, so we float it to the left, hit apply, and there we see where we have our content for our site nav. It goes in here. Hit OK. Now let's type in some of our nav content. Let's get something to work with. So get rid of all this. We'll type in home, return, EDET, 735, return, EDET, 793, return, and contact. Now this is where we need to set the background. We don't have any background. I know it looks white, but that's only because there's nothing there. But when it goes out on someplace else, it might be. So let's set the background of our wrapper. So we select our wrapper, double click that, hit background. Background color, as you can see, there's nothing in it. So we come down to white, click that, apply. Okay, now we've made that. We can make it any color we wanted. You can make it any color we wanted. I just chose white. It's a color. Now, this is what we might want to do later on. And we're going to get back to putting together this here in a minute. Let's say we don't want all our pictures all over here. We want this picture moved over here. Well, there's some ways to do that. I can make a separate div tag in here, or I can make a class tag. A class tag is something that you make a class tag and you assign a class tag to whatever it is you're working on. So we want to make a class tag for this second image. So I select it. Let's select image and let's make a rule. Okay, now this is where it can kind of get a little complicated. Let's go ahead and set it up like we normally do. We're going to make it less specific. We're going to get rid of the P. This is where it differentiates. Okay, we need to, for a class tag, it puts a period after it. A period. And that'll just, that makes a class tag, something that you assign to something. And we want to call it right image. You can call it anything you want. I'm going to call it right image so it can come over here. We got all that. Hit OK. Now we got to make a rule for it. So let's go ahead and make the rule. We want, let's go to our box. We want to float it to the right. So click float, make it to the right. And we want to come to, since we put it on the right, we were putting them on the left, we had to move it to the right. What we want to do is now have our left margin of the picture, this side of the picture, have some space in between it and the text, so we're going to make it 1.5 em spaces because that's just the continuity that we're doing. Now, since this class tag's parent tag deals with this, then this, since it's, even though it's not blank, it does have a default value of 1.5 ems. Put a 0 in it. That will override the 1.5 em of the parent tag. Hit apply and OK. But nothing happened. That's alright. That's just what we need. What we need to do, you assign it. So we're going to assign a class tag to this. Hit it. Class tag, right image, and it moved over here. Has the 1.5 em space over here on this side. Let's clean this up a little bit. Go ahead and get rid of that. And we move our image over on this side. Next, what if we wanted to put a border around it? Okay, great. Let's put a border around our image. So first of all, we're going to select the image, main content image. Select main contact image, and we make a rule. Let's make it less specific. Get rid of the P. We don't need it. And hit OK. And since we want to put a border, let's put a border. The style, we'll make a solid line. Excuse me, a solid line. And let's make it 2 pixels wide. And whatever color we want for this one, let's make it black. Well, let's just make it, we'll make it this charcoal gray color. Hit apply, boom, hit OK. Now, as you can see, the border came over here because the parent tag dictates this. We changed the rule for this. It's going to affect this, but what if we don't want that? Okay, highlight it. We're going to double click the right image. Come back to border. We want to change the color. I'm going to leave all the other stuff. Remember the parent tag? That is right there. We want to change the color. So let's make it the color of this red key right here. Click that. Hit apply. Hit OK. And you can see we changed it over here because we changed it in that rule. It overrode the parent rule. Okay, this is a good place where we could stop off, and we'll pick it back up on part 4.